All right, y'all. Let me make sure this thing is public real quick, and then I get to it. And get to it in just a second. I always say I gotta go public so I can see your comments. Boy, oh boy, we suck. That's a nice way for me to put it. We suck. Everything that I talked about earlier came to fruition and then some. That game was probably one of the worst openers I've seen in the Matt Ryan era. That game was awful. We lost 32-6. I think we scored all 6 of our points in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the stat line. Give me a second. I'm trying to pull up so I can share it on here. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull that box score up. But we suck. That's a nice way for me to put it. I can't say anything else but that. But this is a bad football team. But before I even get into that, we're going to go to the stat line. Give me a second. All right, give me a second. Let me add this, share the screen real quick. Pull up this tab audio. All right, you guys getting a chance to see it. It's like I'm seeing it. As you saw, the Falcons scored first. Philly scored after that, and we scored with 14:52 left in the second quarter. If you would have told me that on that drive, that would have been a final time we scored in this football game, I'd have laughed because we moved the ball so well and we started out of the red zone. And let's see, Michael Thomas said my expectations were low, but dang, I agree. I went into this game with bad expectations, but oh my goodness, this is bad. But just to show you guys the stat line, we didn't score again after 14:52. 8 seconds left in the second quarter. We didn't score again. As you can, let's look at the time of possession. The time of possession was just about even, but again, Matt Ryan even threw for 200 yards. Cordell Patterson led us in rushing with 54 yards. But if you can look at this football game stat, we were 3-14 on third down. If I'm not mistaken, that's us. Yeah, we were 3-14 on third down. We had 260 total yards of offense. We had almost 100 yards in penalties. So many of our drives stalled out because of penalties in this football game. It was absolutely embarrassing. On the flip side, the Falcons gave up 6 out of their 13 third downs. They had those 2 fourth down stops. But as you can see, the Jalen Hurts had a day. He had a day. He had 264 and 3 touchdowns on the day. As you saw, it's surprising there was no turnovers on both sides. We actually ran for over 100 yards, but most of that came within the first quarter and a half. But it was an awful display by the Falcons today. That was an embarrassing show. To be honest with you guys, this team is bad. Everything that we discussed earlier, there's nothing that I can say positive about this football game. Early in the game, it looked like Cordell Patterson and Mike Davis going to put together a solid 1-2 punch, but we stalled out a lot in the red zone. We kept stalling out. We had penalties that kept stalling us out of that game too. Michael Thomas said almost all of our starters could have used some reps for the preseason, and that's another thing. We all questioned them for not playing in preseason, and they really could have played today. They should have played because what we saw was bad. No, I can't put it no other way. It was bad. He asked where was Kyle Pitts. To be honest with you, what could Kyle Pitts do in this game? Because we had 2 or 3 completions, and it stalled out. We had penalties. So can't really do much when you have those penalties that stall your completions out. It wasn't like he was completely inactive, but you can't do anything when you're stalling out. Devon, what's going on, brother? Y'all know Devon. He's one of my co-hosts on the show. He said you would bounce back. It's only week 1. I would like to bounce back, but I just don't see it right now. This team is bad. Raphael Thomas said this offensive line is absolutely embarrassing. It got to a point where, number one, it also shows you the lack of talent this Falcon offense has. I mean, this line has. We came into this game talking about starting Jalen Mayfield and Matt Hennessy, and both at a certain point in that game got absolutely destroyed late in that game. Matt Ryan got hit so many times in that game, it wasn't even funny. He got to a point where, especially in that fourth quarter, all they did was tee off at Matt Ryan, which I would do too if I'll be your opposing defensive coordinator. I'm going to tee off at Matt Ryan because if I'm going to get all these looks at him, Matt ended up getting sacked 3 times in the football game when it was all said and done. He ended up getting sacked 3 times when it was all said and done. For the first half, he wasn't really getting sacked like that. But once they got a chance to really tee off on the Falcons, it was a different ball game. The defensive line, where do I start with them? Jacob Tuati Mariner is the only person that had a sack in this whole football game. They kept converting on third down. Jalen Hurts kept sending the play out of the pocket. That second, to be honest with you, this game ended on that second quarter drive where they scored the touchdown to Dallas Goedert, which could have been questionable because I believe that wasn't a completion on that touchdown, but it is what it is. It happened. But Raphael Thomas said that the bull rush on Mayfield and Hennessy. Yes, they got bull rush the entire game. They took advantage of those rookies. Real season, what's going on, bro? Checking in from Twitch. He said Philly D-line always dominate. Yes, that is true. This goes back to the postseason losses that we had against Philadelphia a couple years ago. It was a complete embarrassment on that side of the ball. This team just looked bad. They just look bad today. It's just there's really nothing that I can positively say about this team. Because another thing is, I think Arthur Smith wasn't really prepared for what he's coming into. Because when you go from a completely conservative offense to having a Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley, let me also speak on that. They don't really know how to get Kyle Pitts going in this offense, and it showed in that game. They don't really know how to get him going. Calvin Ridley didn't really have a lot of big plays either in that game as well. So you don't really have a lot. To me, they didn't show. To me, I didn't see a lot of positive things in this offense. That's just the truth. This game was very bad. Let's see. Gypsy said that Arthur Smith was disgusted as he should be. This team is bad. Like I said, there was nothing that I saw that was very productive in this group. Because to me, you don't really know what you're going into with this season. Michael Thomas said, though, they drafted him without a plan. To be honest, what is the game plan at this point? You're in the middle of trying to get rid of the TD era and the Dan Quinn era, and you're trying to bring your own thing in here. You got a solid tight end in Kyle Pitts, but you don't know how to get him going right now. Also, you don't have a line that you need in place to run your offense successfully. So you're coming in seeing that you have a bad group. Tevin said with the first pick in the 22 draft, the Atlanta Falcons, it could be. Honestly, we aren't. If you ask me, we might be one of the 4 worst teams in the league at this point. I think that we're out there with the Jets, the Lions, and the trying to think who else, the Jaguars. I think we're in that category right now. I don't care if we got a couple of pieces that are decent. This team looks bad. Real season said offensive-minded head coach. I expected more. I think I expected, to be honest with you, I think this also showed with the lack of preparation with this football team because nobody played in preseason. So we kind of came out flat, and it never, after the first 2 drives, there was nothing really to say positive about that group. C. Main Gray said, same old Falcons. Oh, man, it's new era. What did I expect? Jay Lee Jr. said, we suck. Hey, I agree. I totally agree. This is a team that didn't know what they were coming into this offseason. They really, the Julio trade should have been the start of blowing this team up, but the Falcons were still trying to make something work out of a group that doesn't have it anymore. To me, we have a mix of the leftovers from the Dan Quinn era, and trying to work with this Arthur Smith group, on top of the fact That defensive line has no talent. They have no talent on this group. We have no business having Grady Jarrett play on the outside. Dante Fowler should be gone off this team as soon as he can be gone. Tyler Davidson is stealing money at this point on this team. He's bad. We don't really have any talent there. The linebackers, I mean, Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun are good, but I mean, when you look at the group as a collective, they're going to look bad along a bad group. In the secondary, AJ Terrell, he's just, it's just bad. I don't really know what to say. Let's see. Jay Lee Jr. said, I got some more words, but people ain't ready for them yet. Man, this is bad. Gibsy said that Arthur Smith ain't gonna last long. I don't know. I don't see it. They have so many issues with this team. It's just bad. It's just bad. Let's see. Michael Thomas said the Eagles did it the right way. They fired their coach and changed regimes on time. The Falcons waited a year too late to move on from DQ. Now we have a weird in between. You couldn't have said it better than you did. You couldn't have said it better than you did. That right there is the perfect analysis of what's the problem with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons moved when we tried to keep this group together when we went on that 7-9 season at the end of 2019. We were a year overdue. On top of the fact, we're coming in with a DQ roster. Arthur Smith trying to bring guys in here. You don't really have a lot of money because your money is tied up into guys like Matt Ryan, like Grady Jarrett. Not to say that Grady Jarrett shouldn't deserve any bread, but when you look at the contracts that was given out in the TD era, on top of all the needs that we have, if you're not hitting in the draft or these guys aren't immediate impact guys, like although I'm giving Jalen Mayfield a hard time and Matt Hennessy a hard time, these are guys you drafted to replace certain guys, and this was their first actual NFL action. Matt Hennessy got a chance to get in the game last year, but Alex Mack was our guy. So when you look at guys like that, you're coming in dealing with a Fletcher Cox and a Brandon Graham, those guys on the line. So it looks bad. Let me go up to some of these other comments to address them. Chris Krause said, "Can we throw our whole team away?" I'm with it. I'm with it. C-Bane the Great said, "Should have drafted Matt." What was Matt Jones going to do with this team? I need to know that. What is another quarterback going to do that this guy's not going to do? This team is bad. Real Season said, "Y'all run a 3-4. I'm assuming that's what it is. It's a multiple defensive scheme, but overall, DP's ran 3-4. Tevin Ratcliffe said, but real talk, penalties killed them. Move around Calvin and Pitts, and the defense just need a whole new scheme. I can keep going, but I'll sound like a broken record." That's another great analysis. I don't think Arthur Smith knows how. He doesn't really know how to get it going like that, to be honest with you. I feel like he's trying to figure out this group and kind of implement his offense at the same time. So it's kind of hard when you're looking at that situation. Michael Thomas said Matt Ryan won't finish the year healthy if the line doesn't improve, which is why I say move on from him. That's a great point. And that's another thing that I was kind of explaining to a good friend of mine that was watching the game with me. I don't want them. People have to look at this situation. Some of us are not saying to get rid of Matt Ryan because he's just absolutely garbage. Matt Ryan is on a team where this doesn't fit him at this point. You're a non-mobile quarterback with a below average offensive line. You're going to get destroyed all game long once it gets to a certain point in the game. And that's what happened in the fourth quarter. They just started sitting in the house. Hey, we got a defensive line to do it. Let's go ahead and do it. That's what they did. And we got Tampa Bay next week. And you're going to go from dealing with this group to that group? The Falcons have 4 of the toughest defensive lines in the league in the first 4 weeks. Next week is Tampa. The following week, the Giants is not a bad group up front. And then Washington, we know Washington's group. They lost today, but still, Washington dealt with a solid offensive line with the Chargers. The Chargers wouldn't got some help for around Justin Herbert, which was solid of them. Chris Crown said, I didn't watch the game past halftime. I understand. It was nothing to see past halftime. Jermaine Summers said that we need a whole new team, man. We could use a whole new team. We could really use a whole new team, honestly speaking. Chris Crown said, man, I just watched that safety, just watched that first touchdown. I was like, wow. That was when I knew that this defense had nothing to show, nothing to prove. It was bad. Let's see. He also said we need a new group all together. We're like a high school team out there. Matt doesn't fit. No, yeah, it's Matt's time in Atlanta is coming to an end, and then this team isn't built to make your quarterback successful. You got a Calvin Ridley and a Kyle Pitts, but to me, if your line ain't protecting, non-mobile quarterback's not going to do anything. I don't think that's going to work out. Like, it sucks because I think Arthur Smith is kind of trying to learn. He's trying to learn. He's a conservative offense coordinator that's trying to learn how to build another offense in Atlanta, and it's just I don't feel that they got – a lot of people were screaming Kyle Pitts didn't do anything, but we didn't really do much to get Kyle Pitts going on top of the fact the Falcons had almost 100 yards of penalties. You're not winning a football game. You have 9 penalties, and majority of them came on offense. We're not winning the game like that. Let's see. He said, I'd like to see Cam in ATM. Man, I don't. That's probably not going to happen. We probably will be looking at another quarterback sometime in the future, though. Devon Brown said, hey, Washington played a good game today. They just got the better of us. Hey, no, I'm not saying that you didn't. I'm saying in general that the Chargers built an offensive line around Justin Herbert and it helped him out in year 2. They saw they had issues in year 1, whereas Atlanta has not really done a successful job putting around competent talent up front to protect Matt Ryan. Jermaine Summers also said Tennessee played like Julio injured. I saw Chandler Jones had a day out there. He had a day out there. But overall, guys, this Falcon team, everything that I discussed in the pre-show, it showed up today. You don't have a solid pass rush. You're not able to really get to the quarterback. Jalen Hurts, who's able to roll out the pocket, break out of sacks. When you did send pressure, he was getting out the pocket, making a play on the run. Is no talent up front. And that's where the problem comes into play with the Falcons. You have no talent up front to get after the quarterback. You're trying to rely on a Dante Fowler who is absolutely awful. I haven't seen that guy since he was in the Rams. So you kind of wasted your money on him. It's honestly speaking, this Falcon team is worse than I thought they were. And I had low expectations going into the season for this Falcon team. But gosh, they're worse. They're worse than I thought they were going to be. And I don't know how this is going to work out. Chris Crown said that Fowler has a job. Unfortunately, he has a job. That Tampa front 7 might make Matt Ryan, man. Again, I see nothing that shows me these guys are ready to take that next leap. They're not ready to take that next leap. I don't see it right now. Did you see that lineman that the Eagles drafted in 7th round? He killed. Yeah, they had a field day. They had a field day. We have probably one of the worst rosters in the league, and it showed today. The Eagles, I'm not gonna say the Eagles are bad. They went 4-12 last year. But the Eagles looked a mile ahead of us in everything today. And you wouldn't even think that both of those teams finished 4-12 in 2020 because the 2 squads we saw on the field today, one looked like a squad that could compete this year. The other one, like, we're ready to go to April. Chris Crown said, I miss KZ and Neil for some reason. They were solid players. I think we lost a lot. We didn't have a lot of room to make replacements or anything like that. I think we just came out here and just thought, okay, we're going to just give it a shot. Dean P's out here really have a very, very bad roster of talent. This going to take a couple of years to get right. It's not going to be a one-year fix. And I think everyone's getting a chance to see that because also I think we're kind of realizing today as well that the Falcons probably need to go ahead and complete this rebuild. They need to probably go ahead and start transitioning out of this Matt Ryan era. And I'm not blaming Matt Ryan at all. I'm not even criticizing him for this game. I don't want to seem like I'm coming on here doing that. But I feel that the era where he's leading us and everything is starting to come to an, or either has come to an end, and we just need to start transitioning out of it. We need to start getting other things in place because, again, Matt Ryan can still be productive in this league, but he doesn't. With this offensive line, he's going to like a deer in headlights for the rest of his career. And I know a lot of fans ask for him to do all kind of other things. He is what he is. He's a 14-year veteran. You're not going to see him take all kind of different leaps. The leap that you saw him take was back in 2016 with Kyle Shanahan. That was the last time you're going to see him take a leap as a quarterback in this city. So to me, you got to start looking at your future. And I think the Falcons didn't do a good job starting to transition to the future. I think they decided to roll with the fact that we still got Matt Ryan. We still got this guy. We still got that guy. We still got that guy. So it's a more than a one-season fix. But they got to get to a point where they got to be willing to start the fix. So, again, kudos to Philadelphia. Philadelphia did their thing. I'm not going to take anything from them. The Falcons have more issues than they really want to admit. So let me see. Hold on. Let's see. Wilson, Donaldson, Lance, Lawrence, Herbert, Hurts, Jones, Baker, Lamar, From, Fields, Siege, and Josh. So this is the thing, kind of touching on that topic real quick. The problem is you were paying big money to this quarterback that's been productive to you for so long. And then when you have a group that still was looking at, we're still 2016-17 worthy and we're not, you're not going to address getting a quarterback. You're not going to address getting guys that start to replace. And that goes from the front office on down. I don't think those guys were really ready to admit it's time for us to move on. Because to be honest with you guys, and I'm not sure a lot of whoever is watching probably remember me saying this on the stream. I'm sure, Mike, if you're still watching the stream, you probably remember this. I wanted Jalen Hurts in the 2020 draft because I felt like we needed to get a quarterback to get a 2-year window to learn under Matt Ryan in the case that he was getting older, he was losing the step. But the Falcons have failed to do things like that. And even with Felipe Franks, let me just go ahead and say this. No disrespect to Felipe Franks. Felipe Franks is not the future for this team. So it's hard when you're sitting here seeing that this team needs to go into a complete rebuild and they're sticking with, they're trying to drag the Ryan era out. They're trying to drag this. So that's the problem. Let's see. Michael Thomas said, yes, sir. I knew you remember me saying that last year. Chris Crown said, we might as well give up what Houston want for Watson, bring Watson home. If we were a quarterback away, that would be great. But we have so many issues. Like I was actually talking to a good friend of mine earlier who was watching the game with me. Just to be honest with you, for all of you that's watching the stream, what holes do we not have on this team? We have a solid defensive tackle in Grady Jarrett. We got solid linebackers in Louis Kahn and Deion Jones. We got a productive corner in A.J. Terrell, solid receiver in Ridley, solid tight end in Kyle Pitts. But when you look at the depth of this roster, when you look at these guys are basically being fielded around bad talent. So if a team can easily come in here and say, we're going to lock these guys down. We're going to lock these guys down. We're going to make you beat us with everybody else. Let me see what Chris Brown said. For once, the running backs look different. Yes, the running game did look good. It got off to a solid start. It was unfortunate we couldn't score a touchdown on neither of those first two drives. It might have been a different ball game if we scored even one of those two touchdowns in the first half. We might have been looking at a different game because for the sad part about it is, which is what will be ignored in this game because of how bad the blowout became, is that the Falcons actually held the ball for most of the first quarter early into the second. But they wasn't able to score touchdowns with it. Had you scored touchdowns with it, it may have been a different situation. You might have could have won, might have could have made a big move in this game. But the thing is, Philly didn't do too much after 22-6. They stayed at 22-6 for a long time. But the Falcons were at a point where you're desperate. You're down 16. You can't get it right. You can't move the ball. It's just a lot of things went wrong with this team today. And I, for one, hope that Arthur Blank and company are all just sitting there thinking, we got to make some moves at some point. You're not going to be able to go deep into this season and think you're going to compete to win football games when you just put out that. I thought the Eagles was a winnable game, but I was completely wrong from what I saw. That game was bad. That secondary, don't get me started on the secondary. The secondary needs a complete overhaul because, to me at this point, get Deron Harmon from starting. Give Richie Grant, don't draft Richie Grant in the second round and you're not going to start him. Give this man some reps. Also, you got Eric Harris, another non-productive safety. He's a veteran. If anything, I would have had him as my backup. Let Jalen Hawkins get some reps. Let some of these young guys get reps. What do you have to lose? You were the worst pass offense in the NFL defense in the NFL last season. You got to give an opportunity to some of these young guys because you're in the midst of a rebuild, whether you want to admit it or not. So again, this football team got a lot of issues on their hands that they're gonna have to figure out. This is not gonna be a one-season fix. Like I said, next week we're going to Tampa. I don't expect a lot out of us in Tampa Bay. I think we may get destroyed in Tampa if we come out like we did today. So they got a week to get this thing together as far as Tampa, but long term, I think we got a lot of problems on this football team. And yes, it's week one. I get it. It's week one. But at the end of the day, this is a 3 to 4 year issue that's been brewing. And it's, to me, everything just came to a head today. We went 4-12 last year. But again, everything came to a head today because now you're seeing we don't have a Julio no more. We don't have a Dan Quinn. We don't have a TD. We're under a new regime having the same issues. So as you see, the issues is deeper than a one off-season rebuild. But that's what all I have to say about it today. Again, the Philadelphia Eagles won 32-6. I'll be back on talking again in the near future about the Tampa Bay game. But until then, that's all in one day. Signing off.